I might be very tall, but I'm always looking up at you.
Wow. Wow.
That's so beautiful.
That's a Hallmark card right there. Thanks for that, TJ.
I do write those professionally.
Ah,
Kodak moment.
well, now you know one of TJ's side jobs. Do check those out if you want to see some wise words coming in from TJ.
Promo code TJ.
Initial
Let's
bans.
talk about the draft before we get too off topic.
Yes, bans and picks coming in right now. No more Nunu again. I don't think we're ever seeing this Nunu once again. I'm sad.
That's what I wanted to like cut in and scream about, because it's really interesting to me that teams have started target banning this Nunu. Team Secret did it twice in a row to MBR earlier. And what it does is it completely disrupts the way MBR wants to play the game. I talked earlier about how Radiance is oftentimes on carry characters. He can get away with that. He doesn't need to kind of play the more supportive mid laners like Galio, like Jarvan, because he's got an extra bit of tank, an extra bit of beef coming out of that jungle. With Nunu banned out, they're probably going to play this Riven in the jungle, I'd expect. Could also be a Kha'Zix. That's the other thing we've seen a couple times from Alpes, but I expect it's going to be this Riven. And what we've seen previously is that MBR don't really have anywhere else in this team where they can pull out tank. So if we don't see like a Jarvan in mid or top, then I'm actually a little bit worried for MBR. The other option is maybe Tobu can pull out his Braum. That looked all right. Oh,
Thresh.
would do it as well.
Okay.
One of our other things we were talking about coming into this series, Rafa, was we wanted to see these carry characters in mid. And in that regard, I'm a little worried because Radiance was on. Oh,
There it
okay,
is.
so Radiance was in Ziggs jail earlier today. If this Ziggs is getting past to Alier and it's going to be Lucian mid, then I'm very happy.
You're very down, as they say.
No, I'm standing up.
Wait, are you now standing up? Are you standing
No.
up with?
He'll,
not
he's
until
gonna
the game
believe
starts.
you. He's gonna believe you, know?
Man. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We got Lux? Lux for East?
We do. And this makes a lot of sense into Thresh because you can outrange the Thresh and just really
Lux!
lane.
Sona
And you go
Lux!
Lux Sona.
It's the
Yeah,
Taiwan
like this.
special! Let's go!
You go Lux Sona, which is the Flash Wolf special. It's an evolution on the double AD carry. Where we've seen Lux Seraphine fulfill this role as well. Team Secret, actually, who played earlier today, were one of the first teams to develop that. And this is really scary once you get late game, because you essentially have 2 carries for the price of 1. During the early game, it's going to be dangerous. So Flash Wolves are going to need to hold on through Bruce's Ari and Ysera's Renekton. Those are going to be kind of their tickets through the early game, and they're going to be vulnerable during that period. If you can get onto that lane and really shut it down, they'll be in trouble.
Rafa, any final thoughts here before we jump into the game? And now I just have to say you both look like you're standing up.
Mika, all I'm going to say, it is 6 a.m. I see Lux Sona. I am very excited, and I don't want to sit
You're
down.
awake now. You're awake now.
I am on board for the ride. Let's go, baby.
I can't do
Standing
that.
up for the game!
Let's go!
I can't do that. Okay, I'll join you guys in peer pressure over here, but let's go. We are going into game number 1 of Flash Wolves and MBR Esports. Casters, over to you guys.
Get on your feet.
Thank you very much, Mika. We're down into the last series for the day. Flash Wolves up against MBR. And Riku, this is looking an exciting draft here for Flash Wolves and also MBR. Going for untraditional bot lane with Thresh for MBR and Flash Wolves going for Sona Lux.
Yeah, TJ mentioned it before. This is very reminiscent of the summer season where Team Secret drafted the Unkillable comp, where you have the Sona Seraphine to make sure that the Olaf, whenever he presses Ragnarok, dives into the back line, he will survive. And for MBR, this is going to be a very classic Lucian Thresh lane where we expect them to be very aggressive in the 2v2 matchup. I mean, usually when it comes to expectations when a Thresh is locked in, either you have a safe AD carry with you with big wave clear so you can roam with your jungler. But now, this isn't the case. With now Lucian 2v2, expecting possibly a traditional AD carry lane, this changes things because there's sustain in the lane as well. You've got CC to try and punish that death sentence into the light binding. So I feel like Flash Wolves bottom lane wants the level 5s immediately, and as well as the fights in Dragon and Rift Herald, to make sure that they can propel Cookie, Isera. We'll see. I'm curious about this composition, especially now we're at the fall season.
And I'm hugely interested as well. I like your point about Tobu needing to roam elsewhere, because if we know historical states, Bruce is very aggressive as a champion, as a playmaker for Flash Wolves, right? And if Tobu is able to roam in mid lane and help out the Radiant, especially Ziggs is not really the most mobile champion. Yes, he has that escape route onto the satchel charge, but I think Tobu will be key here for MBR on how they can maneuver in this game up against Flash Wolves. And when you have a Lux and Sona plus a Bruiser combo for Flash Wolves, I think they need to put this at the very late game and is dependent on that extra damage, which I presume is going to be Bruce and Isra.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? In this 2v2 matchup with Double Mage, before level 5, there's no kill threat, really. There's no lock-in for Air Lure here on the Lucian. So this is a time window where Tobu, a time window that's not exactly as long, where he doesn't have to worry about his AD carry dying in the lane against a 1v2 matchup. But of course, level 5 will start to seep in. Tobu will have to time his roams during back timings. And now, we'll see. Look at this lantern. This is a very, very long lantern to deliver Alvis here.
Yeah, Alvis comes through. This is a 3v2. MBR went in for the early roam.
Locking.
Now Locking is going to get killed. First blood for MBR as they kill the support.
There we go. That's the window we're talking about. But while it is not the roams that we saw, it is basically the other way around. Alvis joining the fray with such a deep access through the dragon, using the lantern to skip every single ward, I believe, to propel themselves to under the tower.
Yeah, and that is huge for MBR. And we keep on talking about the roaming potential coming in from them and how Flash Wolves is hugely dependent on the late game, and it's now coming into fruition. MBR getting the first blood leads them to a good start in this matchup, and now Bruce needs to pivot himself into other lanes to get that trade. And now Bruce goes in, charms down onto Onion King and gets to kill Flash Wolves, make it even for the kills.
The trust within Flash Wolves here is Sarah forcing himself to be incredibly low, setting the bait for Onion King rather, to get in the fight. But Bruce is right there, lying and waiting, and is able to get that early kill. Everything so far has been steady. MBR making moves around bottom lane. Flash Wolves responds towards the top side.
Yeah, and it is needed for Flash Wolves to do so. Because I think Flash Wolves, especially Bruce, is the playmaker, and it's showing their aggression in this game. And even then, if they're depending on that late game, they need to sustain themselves in the early mid to get to that point, because if they don't, it's pretty much MBR Esports dominating the early, dominating mid phase. So I think Flash Wolves doing that type of playstyle, doing that type of counterintuitive, counter-attack rather, onto MBR Esports is a requirement for them to get that late game.
Yeah, MBR has decent scaling as well. You've got Onion King and as well as Radiance here on the Ziggs. So there is someone that is able to catch that early game that Aelure is going to provide for MBR. I mean, he already pretty much is involved in that one kill over the bottom portion of the map. And as well as for Flash Wolves, of course, this is a very strong 5v5 composition as well as Sarah going to be setting up with the flanks. Lock-in and Eason, their job is to make sure that Cookie doesn't die, providing thick shields for Flash Wolves. And Bruce being that finisher or being that initiator once it comes to the picks.
Yeah, and I think this is the other variant of the unkillable composition that Flash Wolves is doing. Not in a sense of that healing potential, maybe from locking just a tad bit, but more so on giving those shields, being that sustainable. And I think this is sort of the indirect counter onto how Radiance could play this out, how Alir can play this out, because both these champions are burst champions. So that shield is going to be so much when it comes to value for Flash Wolves, if they can utilize it very well in that mid-game, late-game fights, especially right now. We're in 5 minutes and 30 seconds of the game, very quiet, and Tobu roams top.
This is it, as expected, when the Thresh is locked in. You'd expect him in multiple parts of the map, but we talked about having to leave your AD carry. So it looks like the rotation coming from Locking and Eason mitigated that threat, I suppose, in the 1v2 matchup. So far, though, you get to see Rift Herald already pretty much secured by Cookie. First Blood Tower is still not up for grabs, but because of the 2v1 matchup in the mid lane, they don't have priority. This could be a die.
Light binding huge with a final
Easy.
spark to secure it. With a Ragnarok from Cookie to also just jump in onto the turret, and this might be the tap for its blood that Flash Wolves is looking for.
And this has been happening as the Rift Herald again being kept a little bit. You'll be able to open up mid lane, which is very important.
Now look at a 1v1, Alvis and Isera, but Alvis still takes it for the blue buff. But now, it's Eason coming into the fray top lane. 2v2, Alvis jumps back. They will not fight, and Isera is left alone top lane.
And they're gonna back away for now. And possibly Cookie's gonna unleash the Rift Herald in the mid lane. Because again, especially when you're up against a Ziggs lane, you wanna get ahead when it comes to map control and tower takes. And this means Radiance is going to try even harder to try and catch up. Especially as a Ziggs that can take towers down very, very fast. Look at this roaming death squad, though.
Yeah, it's a 4-man
Do they
roam.
see
That
Alvis?
goes.
What?
They don't.
Huh?
Alvis just jumps in, and now he gets killed. He gets surprised with a 4-man from Flash Wolves. That's a kill to the jungler. And now Tobu trying to run away, but the charm connects. Almost gets it, but Arlier is there to save the day. And Tobu lives, but Flash Wolves takes their second turret in this game.
I love the baits in response to baits, because MBR was ready to collapse. Alvis kind of pretended that he didn't see anything, that Flash Wolves basically compressed into one single brush. And it's just one of those things where who will be able to pull the trigger immediately? And it was Flash Wolves that was able to land the charm, disabling Alvis basically, and MBR's collapse wasn't enough.
And I think they need to be wary of those, because Flash Wolves is going for these type of strategies wherein MBR Esports cannot handle this surprise attack, especially when you're considering you have Alvis. Sure, I think he's the only one that can try to frontline stun the enemy team when Tobu's not around, which I presume would be that mid lane focus for Tobu to try and pivot himself onto the mid laner and all your
What the?
But look at the root! It's locked! It's Eason taking it down to lead it to a kill once again for Flash Wolves. And now MBR Esports going for mid lane once again, connects it for the charm, and also the light binding as now Arlier is very low. It's Isra getting the kill. 3 kills for Flash Wolves.
Crazy binding. Eason was so confident with that too, with the flash into the binding. Perfect timing as well with the Mountain Drake now spawned. MBR is not able to contest this one. They have to be careful. The fact that Radiance also had the flash, meaning he did not see that engage from Eason coming.
And Flash Wolves, they were steadying the early game, and now they're putting this hyper aggression up against MBR. And this is a problem when you have like low mobile champions, specifically on the Radiance. The only way that you can do it is the satchel charge, but you can't because of the charm and also the light binding from Eason and Bruce that synchronizes very well.
Yeah, satchel versus the way light binding and the charm, the way they travel is so much faster, for sure in most of the situations. So it's very difficult to try and react with an immediate satchel. It's not like an immediate arcane shift like an Ezreal. Doesn't work that way. And now MBR suffering the 6k gold deficit. Now Flash Wolves has been taking everything away so far in the map, as well as taking down towers. We'll see how they can pick up from this, because the way I see it, Tobu is still going to be a very huge part in this point of the game where they can get picks here and there. You follow it up with Aelure on the solution. But at the same time, already 10 minutes into the game, it's very, very difficult.
And now, MBR going for the 1v1.
Look at the
Isra
damage.
gets a stun onto Alves, uses up the flash to go back away.
Bye,
Final
Mark.
Spark zones him away, and that will be the smite to slow him
Bruce,
down. And Sarah
he's gonna
cannot
dive in.
catch up. But Bruce, here into the backside, goes for the flag, gets a kill onto Alves with the Spirit Rush, and the charm will also follow up. An extra kill for Flash Wolf.
very effortless. The way that Sarah just bursted down Alvis. Look at the two-man crescendo.
Ooh, Locking is doing miracle plays here, but MBR Esports will be able to go back away. No follow-up from Flash Wolves.
It's so scary looking at the items right now coming from FW. Staff of Flowing Water. Getting the ability haste down for more spammability of your abilities. Basically on the side of Flash Wolves, this just works so well with Eason and the rest of the squad. Well, especially Eason. And now Rabadon's gonna be the next item coming from the Lux. So, I mean, Eason has been hurting already. He's able to get all of these engages, and I really like the contrast, I suppose. We saw Eason being a phenomenal Gragas player, being that big tanky engage for the team. And now he's still on engage duty, but on this mage, which is a very, very interesting light to see for sure, especially Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and I think they just need to capitalize on this early advantage that they have to fight up against MBR. You stated onto the Rabadon Set Cup and Luden's Echo. That's two. Bruce and Eason has built it, and I think this is the popularized items for those mages, for those AP champions because of the recent buff up onto Luden's Echo, and I think they're utilizing it very well. I think the damage is absolutely insane. And now they're starting onto the Baron Nashor. They know they're confident on their lead up against MBR.
And they see this coming though because of the Lantern. Half HP already to the Baron.
Yeah, Alvis is on the sidelines as well, ready to go in, and they could do it. But Bruce into the flank,
They turn
arms
around.
up, final spark to follow up. Tobu very low, but he will go away. And now Alvis, half HP as well. Honeyfruit goes back for a little bit more HP, and Flash Wolves disengages the Baron.
Yeah, they just wanted to use it as bait. Take note, Onion King has been split pushing. Look at the damage on the tower. Flash Wolves cannot afford to take their time on that Baron. Because of that Baron resetted, they can't turn around again. They have to reset the waves in time for the next dragon to spawn, which is the Air Drake, which is absolutely important for MBR Esports to deny away from Flash Wolves. They're already a pretty mobile team. They've got Cookie here, Righteous Glory. They've got the movement speed coming from Locking. They want to deny that for sure. And as well as to enable Tobu as well to find picks around the map.
Look, Alvis initiating the fight, stuns up onto Cookie, but Cookie uses up the Ragnarok to disengage onto the CC for MBR.
Ult now burned.
Oh, Charm,
Charm?
massive, coming from Bruce. Tubo, very
Crescendo.
low, and now Crescendo connects to follow up, and now MBR Esports places their support at a very low HP. This is going to be difficult as Flash Wolves starts up the Cloud Dragon. Onion King on the sidelines gets them for information.
They have a lot of sustain. They have a lot of shields to work with to win the poke war here.
Now Bruce
Onion
comes
King
in with
coming
a
from
third
behind.
rush. Yeah, and Onion King into the sidelines, but actually gets rooted down by the Light Binding. Now Bruce uses up the flash, saves up with 1 HP.
Eason!
And MBR Esports will not get the kill, and that will be Flash Wolves taking 3 away from MBR.
Sarah's still not over. He's still cleaning up the map. Going around. But it still doesn't matter because Flash Wolves now has so much space to work with the Baron. Only Alvis and Air Lure left in the game for now. It's going to be very hard. This is... yeah, Alvis will not make it at all.
Yeah.
Look at him. Just throwing the gauntlet, and I'm just going to farm my Raptors.
Yeah, because here's the thing.
My wolves, rather.
I think MBR Esports is thinking, you know what? We only have Alvis left. We only have Alyer left. If Alvis comes through into the Baron to attempt to get the steal and get the kill onto the Baron, they only have 2 Baron buff. In trade, if Alvis dies, it's Flash Wolves being able to capitalize onto the Baron Dasher to push on turrets because there is only 1 member left for MBR to even defend. So I think that is MBR tuning down on the risk here for this game 1.
Yeah, it's just a very solid performance so far from Flash Wolves. I gotta praise Eason's bindings though. It's just always very on point. Being able to play around the riposte timings as well coming from Onion King, and therefore being able to land that and punish the flank that the Fiora so desired to set up. Look at the 4-1 split push once more. Baron buff. I mean, this is the play that MBR can do at the moment. It's not like Onion King can stay in the base, wait for a fight. This is how you want to try and capitalize on this 4-1 split push, as we see Asera already responding to that.
Yeah, because they have a huge goal deficit coming from MBR Esports, and they need to retrieve it back. They need to alleviate this disadvantage. So Flash Wolves just continuing to push down into the bot lane, as well as taking the inhibitor turret. So Flash Wolves secures that. MBR Esports has to defend the mid next if they could, because Flash Wolves is looking up for this tier 3 turret into the mid lane, and MBR Esports starting this fight. The lockdown coming in from Tobu will get the slow onto Asura, but it will not kill him. And now it's Onion King flashing away, going top lane, but inhibitor turret number 2 secured by Flash Wolves, and another kill for Bruise, going aggressive on Onion King.
Crazy collapse from Flash Wolves. Onion King wanted to try and set up a flank.
The charm massive and almost kills down Final Spark. Close there, but Isra just jumps into the flag, gets a kill. Alvis with 1 HP. The stun will save them, and that will be the third inhibitor turret for Flash Wolves.
And now it's just the Nexus left standing. Flash Wolves are ready. What a binding.
Yeah, always connects onto 1 or
Teleport.
2. Flash Wolves. TP's now coming up. They want to finish this down. Bruce just jumping around. Spirit Rush to save himself. But there you go. You're just clearing out the way for Flash Wolves. They want to control the lanes. They want to control the minions away from MBR.
A little bit risky to stay around. Again, they have no AD carries, so it's really hard to just try and poke the Nexus down. And with that, MBR with the Ziggs is still able to survive another day, but how long would this last with such a huge gold lead already for Flash Wolves? And now they're looking into getting the Elder Drake, and with that said, it's just the early state of this game where they didn't manage to get Lure into that big lead as that Lucian to help transition Radiant into that late game.
Bruce into the flank, charms down Tobu, 1 HP, he still lives in 1 second, he pushes down, unlocking, he still lives,
He's alive.
he still lives, but Isra just finishes it down. You cannot outlive us, and we're gonna punish you with a kill. Support gone for MBR.
It means no engage on the death sentence available, and as well as Lantern delivery and Lantern saves. And look at this. Yeah, Alphys is lurking around.
But Bruce probably going for the face check. MBR.
Oh, Eason doesn't see.
They don't
Bruce
know.
will
They
though.
don't have enough information, but Flash Wolves very wary. Checks down. Alvis is now gonna get charmed. That follow up from Cookie gets it down. Protobelt. Oh, Blast Cone almost saves him, but Final Sparks to secure it. And now Flash Wolves can start the Infernal Dragon once again.
Yeah, no jungler, no problem. They're gonna secure this one. And MBR sadly has to fight an Elder Drake buffed Flash Wolves. They've already been having a hard time earlier on. This is such a humongous lead on the side of FW, and now it's just one of those things that how can we reset back to the drawing board for MBR here, as again they had the scaling, but before that even arrived, it was just too late.
Yeah, the Wolves are now howling in this series up against MBR. And look at that.
Sando.
Toba initiates the fight with a dead sentence. Actually gets a kill onto Lucking. This will be the 1-for-1. Jungler away. Support for Flash Wolves. But the Nexus base will be the target. And Flash Wolves gets the first game of the series.
And we get a different
thing. So yeah, it was a very disappointing game from Onion King, if that's what you're asking.
You know, TJ, Onion Daddy said, or told MBR, say, hey, I'm gonna come back after I get this turret. He told you, hey, I'm gonna come back after I get this milk from the 7-Eleven. So, and unfortunately,
Yeah, he went to go get a turret from the 7-Eleven and
and then he never came
never
back.
came back.
y'all were both lied to, TJ. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Let's talk about it.
it got real. Now I see why you call him the onion daddy, or onion papa, onion father, even. Yeah, it's
I'll still
I
be
see it.
proud of him if he delivers in this game.
Oh yeah, because we know that he can. So, but you know, right now he's focused on himself, and you know he has different goals. at
Taking
the
some
moment.
time to himself,
Yeah.
buying a Lambo. You know how it is.
Ah, yeah, it's getting late. It's getting late on our end. Good morning.
Is that your takeaway? Here's the draft. Nunu banned out again, Lulu banned out again, Galio banned out again. This is really interesting. Flash Wolves are targeting a ton of this utility that gives MBR a little bit more HP. Kind of a reaction to what worked against them, I feel, with Team Secret, where Team Secret banned out this Nunu, and it really undid MBR's game plan. So I need to see some HP come somewhere. I'm looking kind of Jarvan as a tool here, Braum maybe as a tool here. We've seen both those come out for this team in order to respond to the fact that they don't have a front line. Or over-index right now on damage, given that you've seen the Lux Seraphine. Or sorry, the Lux Sona.
Don't worry, TJ.
There it is!
Sona Seraphine is the NA special, but MBR, they are now trying to make sure they have a ton of damage that they can just nuke the crap out of this Sona Lux into the next game and bring them to a game 3.
That's the answer. If you can go in, this is going to be Ziggs AD carry, Ori mid, Fiora top, and then Kha'Zix jungle. And that has so much damage that if they can get onto this Lux Sona at the very beginning of team fights, Flash Wolves are probably just going to lose off of that. I'd love to see MBR get some stun here, get some CC, some control in the final pick. Braum is a decent choice. You could also go full spam and pull out a Nami here. Something to that effect. They need tools to get in, and it looks like we are going to see that Nami from Tobin.
Now, one thing that is interesting from Flash Wolves is because they were so confident on locking in the Sona Lux this time around, it meant that they didn't want to go for another assassin or a mage pick for themselves. They are now fully on board with running a triple bruiser setup. The Riven, the Aurelia, and the Vi all in their grasp. Now, they were looking at the Olaf for Cookie once again, but they saw all the mobile threats that were looking to threaten their backline, and they said, you know what, let's get some ease of execution, reliable lockdown, at least for one of these mobile diving threats, and that's why they pivot over to the Vi. I know we're not necessarily huge fans of the Vi in terms of being an overall damage threat, but when you already got the Aurelia and the Riven, I want to see Bruce or Cookie on this Vi not go for the tank Vi build. I want to see the Chad Vi build. Trinity Force, Death Stance, give yourself as much damage as possible because you're going to have the Sona and the Lux giving you all the heals and shields that you need.
Yeah.
The big thing we've got to see is early control. And whichever team gets that and starts kind of snowballing is very likely just going to be able to run away with this game. If it goes even, we're going very late. This could be a 20-minute, 30-minute game. But if one team blows out the early game, particularly MBR, given that they have that Kha'Zix, then this game is very likely over. So watch for the 5-minute mark. If at the end, the 5-minute, 10-minute mark, there's like a 5k gold lead, this game might be over. On the other hand, if we're even at that 5-10-minute mark, then we might, put on your seatbelt, get ready for the long haul.
Well, it looks like our viewers here have a little bit of homework from TJ. We are going to see indeed if Flash Wolves can close this out with a 2-0 or if MBR Esports can even out the score. Casters, over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Mika. Flash Wolves one game away to take the series down against MBR. And Mika once again, Flash Wolves utilizing the Sona Lux.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very plug-and-play duo as the Sona and the Lux. And the primary focus is to make sure that you keep your carries alive with the shields, with the heals, and as well as have that CC lockdown with the light binding into the crescendo, and all of the layering of CC in the world has to follow through and get a pick, or maybe even towards the fights, the skirmishes, most especially. For MBR though, double assassin setup, we've seen this before, really nice. Radiant's gonna have to set up with a charm, Alves will follow through. You will not lack damage just because, again, just a lot of burst going on inside of Radiance and as well as Alves. And you have that 4-1 split push that Onion King wanted to do earlier, but was already too far behind to enable that split push.
Yeah, and something that I'm looking at for this composition of both teams is very, very different. MBR Esports doesn't really have that tank, that true tank or pure tank for MBR Esports. They have Ziggs, they have Nami, they have Ari, Kha'Zix, and Fiora. And for Flash Wolves, pretty much they all have sustainability. Like you have Sona, Lux being that enchanter, and having Riven, Vi, and Aurelia being sustainable. So I think this is really just a both pivot here for Flash Wolves and MBR Esports. They're utilizing their graph for a different type of setup.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult early to mid, just because of how you mentioned Flash Wolves is just going to out-sustain MBR in these fights. And again, the technique for MBR when it comes to setting up these fights will primarily be reliant on Radiance's charm, followed up by Tobu's bubble. And after that, they can most likely ensure a kill. And for Flash Wolves, or rather going back to MBR, and it's these timings that are very, very important before an objective spawns. Before the dragon spawns, Ysera though winning the 1v1 matchup so far. Now it's kind of even. Onion King getting
Minions.
aggro from the minions.
This
This
Onion
ain't
King, 1
pretty.
HP. Cookie comes into the fray. Volt Breaker ready.
He cancelled.
Yeah, he's not going for it. Now the minions are
He ain't
pushing.
going home.
And now Alvis
Now he's-
with the win slash puts him down. First blood. FW.
I mean, that's one way to go home. I mean, he still was able to go home in base. Yes?
1 second
Yes.
recall.
First blood. Yeah, not a recall. Just
1 second death to the base.
Yeah, exactly. Ysera though is able to 1v1 so and set up for that kill with Cookie at topside. So this is looking to be a very scary Riven. We've seen Ysera land triple man taunts before on this Riven, and it could be a possibility for sure to set up for Bruce later on.
Yeah, and as you stated, the charm from Radiance are important, and MBR just showcased that onto Bruce. But going back just a tad bit onto the analyst desk, I love how TJ stated about this composition difference from Flash Rolls and MBR Esports on the early mid game for Flash Rolls and MBR Esports, and how the 5-minute, 10-minute mark can change things up. Now, Alvis would be that front line for MBR to make things happen, and Flash Rolls just has to sustain.
Yeah, I love how you brought that up, because the idea Wolves was, if we're playing with locking, Ziggs, Orianna at the bottom portion of the map. Now, another added combination into the pool, which is the Sona Lux, which is, again, a very plug-and-play duo, because basically what you want to do is make sure that your team doesn't die. Therefore, you must have a carry to enable that big sustain. Ysera's life was in danger. He's fine for now. But that's the thing, right? If you don't have the Olaf, it's fine, because you can always rely on Bruce to pick anything that can fit this duo of the utility mages.
Yeah, definitely. And as we're seeing that right now, the mid lane is also that crucial, as you stated. And when it comes to Cookie, I just want to say, he's so responsive on how Flash Wolves or MBR Esports is playing. You're seeing Alvis come in topside, tries to go for a flag, tries to go for a gank, but he's there. And those quick responses are very crucial, especially for Flash Wolves, to not let the lead come to MBR.
Yeah, they are now just gonna get this Rift Herald and further the lead that they have even more. Especially if you get First Blood Tower without the help of the Rift Herald, that means you can potentially get 2 towers easy. The fact that Alvis was there to get the dragon means that there's no threat of a collapse just yet. Tidal Wave Flash?
Yeah, it's a stun. It's a knock-up onto
Ysera.
Ysera. Goes for the shield just a bit longer, but Arlier kills him. That's a trade for MBR.
Gotta love what MBR is doing. They were able to deny the First Blood Tower, so it's still up for grabs. We'll see. Wherever Arlier is going to be, that's when they can activate First Blood Tower. The
The
charm!
charm! Actually, Bruce steps into that path, and now Alvis comes in to finish it up, and that's a kill for MBR.
Nicely done! Alvis faking going home, faking that he was going somewhere else. Therefore, Bruce was pretty confident about the 1v1. I know I'm not gonna die here just yet. I know Radiance doesn't have enough damage just yet. But of course, you do not underestimate the power of a cockroach. You think it's not there, but it's actually there.
Especially flying cockroaches, right?
Ugh.
And Alvis just flew through that, get the kill onto Bruce there to the bot side, and I think there was just a misstep as well for Bruce. He stepped onto the charm, and that was just the end of it. MBR took that kill, but however, Flash Rolls still, even if they have the kill deficit, still leading in terms of gold, maybe 800, not that much, but still sustaining themselves into that lead.
Yeah, MBR is doing a good job equalizing and not making sure that they're not falling behind on Flash Wolves' attempt in a lot of these top lane drives, especially the fact that Onion King didn't survive the 1v1. We'll have to see. Oh!
Cookie with the Assault and Battery almost fails to
Here
do
comes
it, but
another
Radiance is here. It's a 4v2.
Metal Wave.
Knock him up, zone him away.
Bubble.
Now that's a knock up. Aqua Prison coming from Nami. Huge, and Lucky is forced to back away. No kills for Flash Wolves or MBR.
That was too close. It was a almost 4-man collapse. The tidal wave cleared the wave. So basically, Locking was the primary target because of the bubble. He wanted to run away. And now, MBR gets to survive and as well as stop the aggression that Flash Wolves has been doing.
Yeah, but here into the bot side under the fight, Radiance
Radiance!
jumps in. The charm, the Spirit Rush, the Fox Fire is just there to dominate, and Bruce once again gets slain.
I mean, Bruce already has a Triforce, and then full summoner spells, but no ult. I see why he was confident, but at the same time, these charms coming from Radiance has been deadly and has been ensuring the kill. He is already 2-0, and it's going to be very dangerous after he's able to get that Rabadons. And again, everyone is pretty much squishy. The fact that Cookie did not go for that tank build on towards that Triforce, so meaning there's a little bit of leeway for Radiance to assassinate anybody in this composition.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is Flash Wolf was thinking, we have Lux, we have Sona. Let's just not go for a tank build. Let's go for damage output so we can provide much more, because what this lacks is the damage category for Flash Wolves.
Look at Alvis trying to test. Are you going to crescendo? Are you going to binding me? Is the
No.
question. That was too close.
Yeah, they're not gonna binding them, and go back, push him away. And Cookie was just there. One punch. And they go back. So no kills for MBR, no kills for Flash Wolves. They want to just play dog and cat fights here, just fighting up each other, playing against each other. But for now, still sustaining that 30k. No one in a huge lead, but MBR starting the Ocean Dragon can change things up.
They have no vision here. They're not aware that this was happening. So Flash Wolves, right under their noses, MBR now has double dragons. And this is a setup where, you know, 10-minute mark, MBR has the lead. This isn't still a snowbally lead that Flash Wolves wanted, like game number 1, to set up a victory. And we didn't get to see Bruce shine as well during those first minutes. He's actually 0-2-0. It's the opposite that happened. It's Radiance in the lead.
Yeah, MBR Esports tidal
Tidal
wave
wave.
zones away the enemy team. They follow up with a
Blocking.
Mega Inferno bomb. Locking is very low, 1 HP. Sona tries to save him, but he can't, and Locking will die. And now Flash Wolves trying to do it. Isra is here, front lines.
Bubble.
Aqua Prison knocks him up, but look at Eason. Goes for the light binding, final spark, and Onion King still lives, but Flash Wolves will lose one of their members.
Beautiful repos timing by Onion King over there. Denies the final spark, final kill. And now all of the usual win conditions that Flash Wolves need to win this game is already pretty much unavailable. Isera getting ahead at top side, being able to dive, get first blood tower, basically denied. Bruce having to win 1v1s, has failed twice, I believe. Now he's 0-2-0. Now, the thing that Flash Wolves can potentially rely on is what? The Flash Wolves 20-minute mark win condition, where they, well, the setup is getting the lead and then finishing the game by 20 minutes. But the thing is, MBR already gathering these dragons. They've managed to get Radiance ahead 2-0, and the fact that Allure isn't a scaling champion. So this is not gonna be looking too well.
And now it's Alvis jumping in. That's his kill, almost. Will not do so. Cookie will still live. So much sustainability. But here, Onion King goes for a flank. Almost gets it. Isra jumps back. Still sustaining. Onion King can't penetrate this. Even if he does for the Grand Challenge. As Isra will live. Onion King will follow up. Tries to run. But he cannot catch him up.
Gotta say though, Flash Wolves' discipline on the trigger for their ults. Very patient. Look at this, the collapse though coming from Flash Wolves on Onion King. Will it be possible? Looks like that's gonna be a no. Pretty hard though. If you have repos, you can basically challenge the timing of the crescendos. That's one big ult versus a normal ability. think that's pretty sweet.
And it's not just any counter. If you counter a CC from Fiora, that's also CC countered back. But here, it's Bruce trying to defend. After Prison zones him up, it's a knock-off, but Bruce gets killed by MBR.
1K gold lead already, Radiance versus Bruce. And imagine coming, the way that Flash Wolves is able to get their victories is always Bruce, early lead, snowball, into locking, contributing to the damage department as well in the later stages of the game. But this time around, it's going to be reliant on Isera, going to be reliant on Bruce. The dynamic has changed because of this setup, because they're there to make sure that they can, you know, prolong the lives of basically all of the melee champions on the side of Flash Wolves. But now it's looking to be very dire. MBR is setting this up. Look at the vision coming at the deeper ends of Flash Wolves right now. Alvis, Radiance can tag team finding picks. Double Twin Shadows, by the way, to enable those said picks. 17 seconds on the clock for the Infernal Drake to spawn. And MBR, they're definitely setting up for this one.
Yeah, and I think Flash Wolves, what they were doing is just checking up, trying to get top lane, but Baron Nashor was there, the Rust Cutter was there for MBR. All so much vision for MBR Esports, just keeps on putting Flash Wolves on the edge. And now MBR Esports is now collapsing. It's Radiant in backside. It's all in better counter attack. And now saves his enchant, saves him just a bit longer. Onion King, look at the 4-man knockup from Nami. And now it's Isera coming into the fray, goes for the stun, but Onion King is doing so much. The charm will connect to follow up, and now it's gonna get the kill for MBR. And now it's a 4v5. Bruce coming back into the game, into the fight, because he is gonna get slain, but no trade in return. Onion King alone with a 2-for-1 for MBR.
Radiance's charms are super key in that team fight, and Tobu's bubbles are absolutely massive. Flash Wolves, unfortunately, Bruce, the Vanguard's edge missed. Half HP already towards this Infernal Drake. Alvis super low.
If they lose the Infernal Dragon, Flash Wolves is going to be much more harder to scale in the late game, and that will be MBR securing it for themselves. All the dragons in this game.
MBR challenging Flash Wolves here, pushing them to their limit. Again, this is a BO3. Flash Wolves 1 point away from moving forward. MBR basically are going to be sent home. MBR holding on to this game. They are looking into that Elder Drake win prediction. Let's take a look at this again. We mentioned the Vanguard's edge pretty much missed. The charm, nicely done block by Cookie, but it doesn't change the fact that sustained damage-wise, it's not there. Lots of CC coming from the side of MBR, and if you basically lose your ability to fight if the crescendo hits and you don't kill anyone. Therefore, you don't have ammunition anymore to set up for your melee, for Bruce, for Isera at this scenario. And the fact that this is an 80 carry less setup means you will really lack sustained damage.
Yeah, and the DPS will also be lacking. As you stated, no ADCs for Flash Wolves. They're relying on their burst damage potential in this game to succeed up against MBR. But we'll see.
They need to funnel in everything. Eason with a light binding, all the skill shots in the world. Bruce will follow up. Isera will follow up as well. That is the ideal situation.
Yeah, and the 1v1 for Isera and Onion King is just a fight, just a play. But here, the Baron Nashor now being started by MBR Esports. Flash Wolves now has a clue. I was about to say they have no information, but that final spark changes things up, gives information, gives knowledge to Flash Wolves. Now, Assault Battery goes for the knockup. Tidal Wave will not connect. Allier will force out the flash, and look at the binding. After connects onto one, and here Radiance comes into the backside with the Spirit Rush, zoning away the enemy team, and that will almost get the kill for Flash Wolves. Radiance will hold on for much longer as he lives and go back. Flash Wolves is now under the turret, cornered by MBR. Onion King is just there to zone away the enemy team, but Bruce is coming down. That's a 2-man stun coming in from Bruce. But he won't be able to follow up. Onion King just lunges, almost gets a kill. 1 HP left. MBR Esports will go back. Flash Wolves will do the same.
I find it crazy that no one died in that match. I mean, in that fight. And now look at Bruce having that Sterak's, meaning he's gonna survive a little bit more. Death Stance as well, coming from Cookie, and as well as Isera. That is basically them just trying to survive on top of the healing, on top of the shields that Lock-in and Eason have been providing. Radiance His charms have been killer. Every single time a charm lands, it is most likely a sure kill. And with that, for Flash Wolves, they have to fear not only Radiance, but also Allure, who has already a Rabadon, Ludens, and as well as that Zonia's enchant to survive any of the potential dives the Flash Wolves are going to target.
Yeah, and Tobu at the back end of it all. He is there to sustain, he's there for the tidal wave, and also gives that more ability aid for Radiant and Allure to actually even scale much more. And I think that's important to take note. Now, MBR Esports trying to defend, but Flash Wolves will get the tier 1 third mid lane as now Cookie face checks onto the bush, sees down Alves, but Alves just jumps back, flies through the air, Cockroach flying out.
See ya, is what Alvis has mentioned. It's really hard to compete against the Ziggs here. You don't have that range to siege. You don't have something.
Well, better onto Allure. Good 6 enchant. Allure will have a
he's
bit
dead.
more life. But there
He
you
survived.
go. It's Nami giving sustainability as Allure will live. Now Onion King into the flank. Tries to go
Inferno
on.
Bomb.
A save with a
What?
Mega Inferno Bomb. A lot of damage coming up. And now Bruce will die. MBR Esports will get a numbers advantage as they get the kill. Almost onto Eason as they secure it. Onion King will be traded down though by Flash Wolves.
This is crazy. This is the part where Allure on this Ziggs is gonna out-damage the sustain that Locking and Eason will provide with the shields with the healing. Infernal Drake now being, the Infernal, well, why do I keep it? Mountain Drake already being started as Flash Wolves has teleport.
Yeah. And Elder Dragon, if MBR Esports secures this,
Head
Flash
away.
Wolves will have
They
so
do.
much harder, and they do. And now MBR Esports, with all the dragons in this game, Flash Wolves will have a much more harder time.
They tried their bestest too. The fact that they bought 4 teleports meant that they were hoping that they could contest. Radiance, oh no!
Oh, Cookie with a gold follow-up, with a Vault Breaker. Now Radiance forces out to go for gold,
Spirit
but
Rush.
Radiance Spirit rushes away, and he will be saved. Good initial setup for Flash Wolves, but in the end, Radiance has outplayed them.
So Spirit Rush makes him very, very slippery to catch. Definitely need that big layering of CC we talked about, Crescendo, or Light Binding, and as well as the Assault and Battery, but the enchant of the Zonius, pretty difficult. Locking's ult will come up soon though, so this is an opportunity where Flash Wolves can possibly try and get a pick.
And Flash Wolves repeat history here. Can they have that ganking? They have this setup up against MBR Esports, but Alves
Twin Shadows.
has 6 stands, actually sees down onto the Baron Nashor with the Twin Shadows as Flash Rolls tries to decimate onto
Assault
the
and
Baron
Battery.
now. It's Assault and Battery connecting onto Alves, goes for the knockup. Alves uses up the flash to go back away, but he can't. Alves will be alive though, much
Jungler down.
longer as this Sarah comes
Oh,
for back, gets a
Radiant.
kill. And now it's a Light Binding follow up with a final spark, gets a kill for Eason onto Radiant, and now this will be 3-man left for MBR Esports.
dangerous.
The contest onto the Baron Nashor. Onion King into the backside. Grand Challenge now used up. Flash Rules going in. 5v1. Aqua Prison will
Eason.
connect onto Cookie, but that will just knock him off. That will just be CC. Arler will get the kill. Flash Rules 4v1 up
Wow.
against Onion King, gets the kill. And now MBR Esports will lose their Baron laner, and now Flash Rules will start up the Baron Nashor once again.
Okay, this is dangerous. This is a Ziggs,
Oh.
but no mana.
Isra now jumps in on top of the hill,
Isra!
goes for the knock on Argyr, but too much damage. It's raw from
Crescendo.
MBR
What?
as now they take the kill once again, and Flash Wolves will be forced to retreat.
This is very textbook Ziggs red side. If you are contesting a Baron,
Minions.
especially late game, 20-minute mark, Allure is just gonna rain bombs. The reason why Flash Wolves is so confident with that is because Allure is running out of mana. He didn't have anything to dish out anymore. But that's really scary and risky, and that's exactly why Asera perished into that Baron. And now it resets again. Flash Wolves has to work hard to get a pick.
Oh, so much damage, and
Oh.
actually Locking will
Locking.
just get eviscerated. Now Radiance just jumping around, going around, dashing around, going for so much damage as MBR Esports focus on the
They
Baron
get Barons.
Nashor, and they take it. All objectives down the drain. MBR Esports utilizing everything they can to finish this game.
The pain of Allure here inflicting towards Flash Wolves. This is the final stand. This could be game number 3. This is game number 3.
It would be if Flash Wolves cannot defend, as MBR Esports is now forcing out the push onto the last inhibitor turret, as it will fall down. The Nexus base will be next. Alvis just jumps up. Izer will be very low, and that will be MBR Esports just collapsing into the Nexus base. GA will be popped. The jungler will live just a tad bit longer, but Bruce will get eviscerated as MBR takes the kill. Now the Baron buffed minions will go for the Nexus base as the Flash Wolves will lose game 2, and MBR...
That is like...
You even see them on the screen as well. They're here to stay, and we have a draft. Let's go!
Let me tell you, 5-star wait time, 5-star champ select. This is going to be the greatest champ select in the history of champion selects.
That's a damn fact, TJ. And we already see the bans flying through the draft at the speed of light. Look at that MBR. They recognize that the Ari, they don't want Flash Wolves to touch it.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big takeaway to see the Aura here. One of the things I'm really looking for from Flash Wolves is that Nunu ban. I would be interested if they think it's worth letting the Nunu through here, because that would allow MBR to kind of default to their normal playstyle, getting that extra bonus tank from the jungle. Previously, they really did ban it. There's a high priority towards, or for Flash Wolves to ban out picks that allow MBR to front-to-back team fight. But here, after that last game where Alves really did show up playing a very good Kha'Zix, they've opted to go with the Kha'Zix as the second ban. That is mighty interesting to me.
They don't want the assassin in the hands of Alves, because one thing we have to know, TJ, it's not Demon that's coming in for
Nunu
Flash
gets
Wolves.
through.
It's locking. And you're right, Nunu is coming through the draft. Now, here's the cutter, though. Does Flash Wolves actually
Wolves
lock in the
first
Nunu?
pick it. Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting. I don't think we've ever seen Flash Wolves on Nunu.
Not
Ever.
yet. But there's a first time for everything, Mika. And it's gonna come in right
I like
now.
it. I like
Show
it.
me the Nunu.
I don't think Flash Wolves is first pick worthy against any team other than MBR, who use him so well. Alves is 5 wins, 3 losses on the Nunu over the course of the tournament.
Okay.
It's almost a surefire win whenever MBR gets it. They get so much extra value. It allows them to stack damage in Radiance and earlier in Onion King's hands, knowing they have that tank player in the jungle. And I think we're gonna see it. We do get the Renekton, the most dominant top laner in Ysara's hands. He'll be very happy to have that. He's incredibly good on the Renekton. MBR prioing these Ziggs that earlier did 60,000 damage on during the last game, during game 2.
Kind of sick. It's what kept MBR in the game, but they're going to pair with the Varus as well. So now you have insane long-range damage and poke, and also ways to finish off any burst that MBR supplements with at the engage of the fight.
But they don't have any frontline yet, and Onion King doesn't play tanky frontliners. So... Oh, surely not.
What?
So, MBR need this Nunu jungle to make this draft work. The gamble they're taking is that Flash Wolves don't run Nunu jungle, and they don't need to pick it in prio. And that's a smart play, and I like it. I would be incredibly surprised if MBR get all the way through this draft without the Nunu, without the tank jungler. Over on the Flash Wolves side, the reason we both just freaked out is because this is
Oh
luck
my
Sona
gosh.
gets again. They've run it 3 games in a row, and this game it's actually quite dangerous because MBR have a really good late game composition. Between the Varus, between the Ziggs, they're going to be able to poke away at Sona Seraphine, or at Sona Lux, sorry. And that's really worrying, I think, for Flash Wolves. If they draft this playstyle into MBR will go with the Nunu here, and then I want to see them pull out one more assassin, probably a Riven in the top lane, if we can see that, a Riven in the top or jungle, presumably top lane. That would give me a lot of hope here, and I would frankly think the Flash Wolves are in trouble for this game number 4. We will see the Nami again as the support. They're saving, so the reason you go Nami here is because that gives you counter pick for the final picks here. So Flash Wolves are going to lock everything in, and they're not going to know what this top laner is until the very end. So MBR are going to have that advantage.
Now this time around, there hasn't been a Jarvan locked in for MBR, so Flash Wolves feel a bit more confident taking the Olaf at this rate, because despite all the crowd control, the tidal wave, the chain of corruptions, the Hextech minefield,
There's
and
the
even
Riven.
the snowball, you can run through it all with Ragnarok, and the Riven's gonna come through for Onion King.
I mean, I'll say it. I think Flash Wolves have lost this draft, Rafa. Yeah, they have the Olaf. Yeah, they have a ton of mid-game power. But if Flash Wolves don't win in the mid-game, I don't think they win this game at all. They have a window from like the 10 to 15 minute mark where they are really strong, as a team, really strong. So they need to do two things. One, they need to get to the 10-minute mark. They need to bring the bottom lane online, that Sonalux online, and there's the possibility that they'll just get turbo ganked in the early game and not get to do that. With this composition for MBR, I think that's unlikely. I think they'll probably survive the first 5 minutes pretty comfortably. Then we're going to go to the period of game where Flash Wolves have to win. Because if they don't, you have Varus coming online, you have an incredibly tanky frontline from this Nunu, you have the Riven doing so much damage, and of course you have that Ziggs beginning to stack up sustained damage. With Varus, with Ziggs pumping damage over the top of the front-to-back team comp, it doesn't matter that you're running a ton of stun, that you're running a ton of front-to-back yourself, you are just going to lose to that damage. Sonalux does not out-damage Ziggs Varus.
It doesn't out-sustain it either, which is the big concern for me for Flash Wolves going into this final game, because they're putting a lot of hope and a lot of faith in that they can cleanly execute and close out the game on that mid-game window. I'm not sure if I'm convinced, because if we saw what happened in game 2, they had a similar window and they couldn't do it because the Ziggs got to the point where they couldn't even safely take Baron when Ziggs was literally the only champion left alive. So if you're MBR and if you're fans from the Indonesian region, I think you're pretty hopeful about moving on to the next round.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good sign. I do just want to slip one more thing under the wire here. The reason why that mid-game window is so good for Flash Wolves is that Diana. Watch the Diana. If she finds value, Flash Wolves can close this game.
And that is additional homework once again for TJ. Now, I know we didn't think that the Sonalux would get a third game, but apparently they do up against MBR with that pocket pick in the Nunu and Willem. We're gonna see which team will advance into day 2 of our playoffs and which team will be out of the tournament. Here's game 3. Casters, over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Mika. This is the last game, the last series for the day. Flash Wolves up against MBR Esports in a do-or-die match, with MBR going back with Nuno and Willem synonymous to the name of Alvis.
Yeah, it's a do or die, just as you mentioned, Infinity. That one game that will determine it all. Who will be able to move on and continue their journey in the Sea Champs, or will go home tonight. It's going to be very exciting, considering the fact that both Ziggs and Varus are on the side of MBR. So this is an insanely very high range, long range composition. But for Flash Wolves, the question would always be, how do you try and reach the backline of MBR? They have Cookie. There's only usually 2 answers, either an Olaf, therefore you ignore everything else in front of you with Ragnarok, or a Jarvan 4. Now you have one option, you got the movement speed coming from locking as well, to send Bruce with that movement speed, possibly try to get that dash on the board, get that big moonfall. And I think it's a little bit difficult if there's a Nunu that would stand in your way. Absolute zero to zone away the rest of Flash Wolves, and as well as Onion Knight's flanks or possible chaotic attempts to deter any of the Flash Wolves to push forward.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned about the backline axis, and I think that's very important for Flash Wolves because, as TJ stated it, it's Varus and Ziggs looking very, very great on top of that pedestal in that late game because of so much damage, and you're looking at Alvis being the frontliners, and Onion King actually is scaling when it comes to damage and sustainability as well. So it is going to be so much difficult, and Flash Wolves needs to get that early game, and now it's Cookie just jumping in top side, flash over the wall, gets the kill, first blood.
Axe to the face. Onion gets greeted with that first blood for Flash Wolves, and it was effortless again. This has been the setup since the first two games in this series, where it's Sarah will win the 1v1. If it's not enough, Cookie's just gonna follow and finish off the kill. And that is something that we didn't see in game number 2. Here comes the first gank.
Snowball, knock up, look at that, and MBR Esports forces the flash away from Eason. Light Binding will connect though, huge
mana.
earlier, very low, but no mana as you stated, no follow-up. Flash Wolves will not be able to secure the kill onto the ADC of MBR.
I think that's a pretty sweet deal. The fact that Eason burned a flash and a barrier. Alvis can make a turnaround, can basically make a loop on his route and see if they can immediately destroy Eason, eliminate Eason rather.
Ooh.
Oh, so close.
So close. Ignite will burn him away to 1 HP, but no follow-up to actually secure the kill. Look at Bruce though. Moonfall connects onto 2. Huge damage coming up, and Cookie will just secure the kill onto Alves. 1v1. Radiant's up against Cookie, but look at the backside. Tobu comes into the fray, locking as well, and this will be Cookie staying alive. Bruce, very low on HP. Onion King tries to reach him up, but so far so good as Zera locks and intercepts. MBR will not get the kill.
Exactly. This is Cookie with 2 kills. Imagine if Eason is involved, if Locking is involved as well. This is the perfect setup for a potential snowbally Cookie on an Olaf, and that's definitely something that MBR doesn't want, because CCs don't work on on an Olaf that is currently on Ragnarok mode. So it's gonna be a little bit worrisome for basically Airlier and as well as Radiance, who are very incredibly squishy targets.
Yeah, and on top of all that, Ragnarok is not the ultimate that has the longest cooldown, pretty much relatively fast. So I think Cookie will be the center of it all for Flash Wolves. Also, on top of Bruce and Sarah, on how they played in that game number 1 a while ago was phenomenal. And game number 2 was not that great, but I think in this one, Bruce is known to play this Diana very aggressively. And so far, it has shown dividends, getting that first assist or 1 kill into the mid lane up against MBR.
Yeah, remember, this is Bruce's constant go-to, even during their local qualifiers in the Taiwan region. And as well as, again, Diana has enabled Bruce to basically farm from the side lanes, but hold that thought.
Tidal wave, but a snowball will not connect onto anyone. 2 ultimates actually used it down, and MBR Esports holding on. 1 HP for Onion King, still gonna be alive, but Azera just burns him away with a ignite, and 3rd kill for Flash Wolves.
A lot of ults burned. Bruce still has the Moonfall. And MBR still has a bunch of ammunition. Oh,
Sarah slashing and dicing, going in, killing down Radiance. Another kill for Flash Wolves. Moonfall gonna be massive from Bruce, and he gets another kill. Alvis will fall.
Again?
Bruce tries to initiate one more, but he misses down as Arlier will live.
Now that was just too close. Again, usually, once the Crescent kicks in, usually you want to move forward to dash to avoid that. And that's exactly what Airlier did. Or rather, what the Varus did. And now the Infernal Drake has been reset once more. Ragnarok is going to be back online, but Bruce's Moonfall is going to be very important. And that's not going to be available, especially MBR. It's just free to pressure via poke. There's 2 poke champions on the opposite side.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how they're able to withstand. As again, there are heals going on so far from Flash Wolves. During the early game, the pokes ain't as significant yet.
And both these teams wants that Infernal Dragon, both for MBR and Flash Wolves, because it will benefit them a lot in the late game. But we'll see. As so far, Light Binding with a final spark puts Radiant at a very low HP, but the Chain of Corruption locks down Izura as MBR Esports gets a kill on the Flash Wolf. Now Onion King goes back, that's a stun, and Wind Slash will put Bruce in a very low HP. The Ignite will burn him away, but that's a clutch locking with the shield.
I don't think the teams can get Infernal Drake anytime soon, as long as the junglers are still alive. Especially the fact that even though you get 1 pick, if it's not any of the poke champions on the side of MBR, Flash Wolves will not be able to comfortably take this Infernal. And the same goes for MBR. If you only eliminate Locking, there's still the threat, or Sarah, there is still the threat of Cookie re-engaging with the movement speed with the shields and basically barring you down. Bruce as well has been making solo plays on his own. Onion King
has information.
There's a ward.
Yeah. And they noticed this very, very late, and that brush was just disintegrated by that ward. And MBR Esports, no. You know what? Onion King was just a meme in the bot side, just playing around up against Flash Rolls in that net brush. But here, it's Bruce going for the Moonfall, connects onto one, knocked up onto Radiant, Slide Binding will connect, Final Spark, a lot of damage. Radiant's very low in HP, and Flash Rolls just hovering around, will not get the secured kill once again. They both are just going for damage.
That's the thing. Flash Wolves had burned so many ults. This is the part where MBR can engage.
Yeah, now that's a two-man knock-up, and Onion King just jumps in. But Flash Wolves will secure the Infernal Dragon, and MBR Esports trying to go back, but Azir comes in, slicing and dicing, and now that's a kill, as Radiance will die, and now Tobu will be next, and Sarah will just jump up, but Tobu will just clutch himself with that movement speed, saving himself, but Flash Wolves gets the 2, and also the Infernal Dragon.
Alvis was quite far away. He was busy getting the Rift Scuttler near the Rift Herald. And that's exactly why, you know, Flash Wolves was very brave to basically initiate the Infernal Drake. Jungler opposite jungler far away, that is their cue. And really good stun coming from Ysera as well to deter Alvis from going near and possibly maybe even getting a steal. And I think at that time, you know, MBR possibly could have gotten a trade Rift Herald for Infernal, but they were really adamant about that first Drake of the game.
Now, Ysera looking for that kill, looking for that hunt, and Bruce will go away, and Moonfall gets the kill. Radiance once again will be slain, as Flash Wolves will take it with the Tower First Blood.
Tower First Blood, and on top of that, still keeping the Rift Herald into the mid lane. They can definitely get a second tower down and open up mid, just because Radiance is not around.
Yeah, and Alvis is just there. Snowball zones them away. The Flash Wolves, in the first 9 minutes into the matchup, gets 2 turrets, the Rift Herald and the Infernal Dragon. Absolutely phenomenal early game here for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, remember game number 2, win conditions. Ysera winning the Onion King 1v1. Koki swooping in, possibly getting a kill. That just basically happened earlier. And Bruce getting ahead is also one of the win conditions coming from Flash Wolves. And so far, so good. 2-1-3 already on this Diana. One of his best and frequent picks ever since the local qualifiers. And these are basically the conditions set. MBR has to slow down the game. They have the capability of doing so. They have a lot of wave clear in the form of the Varus and as well as the Ziggs. So we'll see. Now, they're going to set up for another dive here. Alvis, can he stop this?
3-man flank of Flash Wolves setting up. Will not do so, but Ysera at their front lines just went in for the slice. Stuns up Radiance. Will not secure the kill. Not enough damage. MBR Esports will not lose any members out of that.
Yeah, that's some nasty damage coming from Ysera here. And look at this. We talked about this before. Bruce on the Diana would always farm in the side lanes. And that's exactly how, like on top of kills, that is exactly how he's able to be constantly generating gold. And the next time you meet, you'll just be surprised. Like, what is this damage? What is this lead? And we're seeing it now on your screen. There's 2k gold lead in favor of Bruce on this Diana. I feel like Flash Wolves are ready to fight again, as we get to see Cookie down below without the assistance of the double utility just yet. But a dive is inevitable. This is happening.
Flash Wolves going in top side. Alvis jumps up. It's a knock-up, but here it's a 4-man roam that you can't hide. The Flash Wolves will just push them away, and now MBR Esports will lose another turret bot lane.
7k gold lead already for Flash Wolves. And they're slowly creeping in when it comes to map control, even the vision as well, on the side of MBR's jungle. And it's looking really good so far for Flash Wolves. We talked about the 3 conditions. Even Cookie getting 303 is a huge bonus itself. So now MBR has no access for this dragon unless they get a kill, unless they bait out ults from Cookie, from Locking, from Bruce perhaps. That is the ideal situation. They can bait out ults most likely because they have a lot of poke. And I think that is the ideal situation that they're going to be looking for.
And they have to, because if Flash Wolves secures the Ocean Dragon, more sustainability for Flash Wolves in the late game. And if they lose it, MBR Esports gonna have much more harder time to burst them away. And now Flash Wolves going in, secures the Ocean Dragon tidal wave from MBR Esports, zones away the enemy team with a knockoff, no follow-up though, and Tobu will die, and Flash will still secure another kill for their team.
The slow was there, but the damage was not present.
Onion King
Onion
gonna be
King's gonna
ganged
fall.
up, and now Isser just jumps in, gets a kill, but Ignite burning him away. Onion King will be burned onions, and Flash Wolves will secure another.
Burned onions. I can actually smell it right now.
It's not just any burnt onions, it's caramelized onions.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I love it.
it's fancy onions.
But this is just so crazy now. MBR, they had a phenomenal game, game number 2, where they put Radiance in a champion that is able to play make in the mid lane. And now he doesn't have access to that, basically on the Ziggs, alongside with another poke champion here. Aelure will have to heavily rely on Onion King and Alvis's setups, just to see if they can funnel in all their skill shots. Especially Tobu's bubbles as well are very, very important. But so far, it's looking really dire. There is still that scaling coming from Radiance. We've seen it before. Red side Ziggs able to rain in bombs behind the Baron Pit if ever Flash Wolves attempts to do so. And it's possible because Flash Wolves, they take their time. We're looking into that 20-minute win condition, which is the 4th one for Flash Wolves. And that means Radiance can scale.
Yeah, definitely. And pretty much, MBR Esports needs to hold on. They're only building up to their second core items, and that will boost up the damage from Radiance and earlier. If they could utilize that damage output up against Flash Wolves, they could potentially make this back. But for now, Flash Wolves utilizing their gold lead to pressure in MBR Esports, even if it's their very own jungle.
Yeah, they're hoping to possibly find a punish here. But Flash Wolves is always, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get out. If they're fast with their decision to not overstay their welcome, then they're not gonna get poked out too much.
No, and,
Baron now being started though.
and MBR Esports is just lying around the corner. If they could do this, half HP for Baron. MBR Esports, you need to do something. Tidal wave will start this up, though knock up, and this will give information to MBR Esports, but this will be too late as Flash Wolves will get the Baron, and now Alvis enters front lines, tries to disengage the enemy team, and MBR Esports will not do anything about it, will not get the trade, and Flash Wolves is happy with that objective.
Airy, Shields, Solari, Locket, that's... You saw the Mega Inferno Bomb did not do anything at all, despite having... Well, it is not the Ludens Echo into the Rabdons. It is definitely more of that survivability. Therefore, damage output-wise, this Ziggs will definitely need more oomph. And that is exactly what we saw. On top of the thick shields that Flash Wolves had, MBR, their damage output, looking to be a little bit non-existent.
Yeah, it's slower pacing here for the scaling for MBR Esports. I think the Rod of Ages is more so a precautionary measure of how Flash Wolves get this hyper aggression in the early game. And with that said, with that lack of damage, Flash Wolves will get 2 tier 2 turrets, potentially even 3rd. But what? Isserl with the Ignite burns away Onion King once again.
And that's going to be a 4v5, 40 seconds without Onion King. This is a Baron Siege. This is the game.
Tidal Wave, 2-man knockoff, Chain of Corruption to follow up, but this will not be enough to bring down Flash Wolves. They are flashing and they are howling, and MBR Esports is trying to hold on as the Nexus will be the only one left to defend, as the last inhibitor turret will fall down as well. And Flash Wolves now crashing down. Nexus is half HP. They're going through. They're winning it, and this will change. Flash Wolves will come through and win the series.
And they continue their journey over to the Sea Championships, over